Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. Sam Bushman live, November 19th, 2025, promoting God, family, country, protecting life, liberty, and property, and doing so in the traditions of our founding fathers. Charlie Kirk's security leader makes incredible allegation. Democratic lawfare about Hillary Clinton. The U.S. Senate supposedly approved the Epstein files. Do you trust them all? I don't. Texas in a gerrymandering fiasco. The broadcast starts now. James Edwards, thepoliticalcesspool.org, well-known talk show host, author, dear friend. Welcome back, sir.
Sam, great to be back. There is a lot going on, not all of it good, to say the least, but I do want to make a promise to your coveted and most incredible audience that by the next time I appear on this broadcast, the first Wednesday of December, I promise you folks, have video. Our leader, Sam, we are going through a little bit of a studio refurbishment here on this end, although not nearly to the extent that Sam has been progressing. Boy, I can't keep up with Sam, all the people he's working with, and the growth of this broadcast. But I am going to try to keep pace, at least on the video front, so we're going to have that done by next time. And with that having
looking
been
forward
said,
to
Sam,
it,
way
sir.
It is a TV show now. I'm scrambling to keep up with the man who is really expanding his media empire. So anyway,
maybe we can talk James into
Sam.
getting TV for his show too. We'll be working on that.
Boy,
people.
oh boy, yeah. The world's oldest 45-year-old when it comes to tech. Sam, on the other hand, is a tech guru. Anyway,
James a little bit does better than he gives himself credit for, though. Just so everybody realizes.
I can't send
Truth,
emails.
He's not a super tech guy, but he can hold his own. And if he gets guidance from some folks like us, then he actually does quite well. To be honest with you, not so true in all kinds of other arenas. You know, you've heard about the Hillary Clinton email scandals forever. You heard about the bleach bit she used to destroy information on her hard drives. You heard about the hammers, all the dishonesty, the private email servers, the breaching of protocol, and the violation of classified information, and it goes round and round and round. And we know there's two classes of people. There's you and I and everybody else, and then there's Hillary and company, and they're all above the law. And anyway, you thought you haven't seen it. When did that all happen, James? Do you remember when was all this a big scandal? Was it 2012?
Of course.
20, when the heck?
No. Well, I mean, no, this was the big deal of this was, of course, in the election of 2016, that historic election with James Comey and all of that.
When did she first get caught in the scandal with her emails?
Yeah, it was prior to that, but when it all came to light and became the national issue and really a catalyst in the whole christening of the Trumpian era. That was, 16 is when everybody would.
Yeah, Trump started in 16, came down the escalator really in 15, or was it 15, or I guess maybe 16?
It was 15, the fall of 15.
Yeah, he came down the escalator, and it all started then. They all loved the Donald for his whole life, and then he did this, and now everybody supposedly hates him or loves him, and there's nobody in between except for Sam Bushman, kind of a thing. It was March 2, 2015, where the email scandal broke. The New York Times article said that she had used her own personal server during, her time as Secretary of State, da-da-da-da-da. Now, why do I bring it up now, you say? Well, it's been literally almost 10 years later, ladies and gentlemen. And now headline says, Democrat lawfare shows that the Obama team refused to allow prosecution of Hillary Clinton over the email scandal. Yeah. Believe it or not, WND.com has the piece. Our dear brother over there, Bob Unruh. And there's a big video about this, chronicling this from Fox News. We're going to play this, and then we'll talk about it with James Edwards. Here it is, people. Check this out.
Department ordered federal lawyers to do and not to do concerning the Hillary Clinton email investigation. Chief Intelligence Correspondent Catherine Herridge tells us in sworn testimony on Capitol Hill, one of the insiders told lawmakers what she was told.
During closed-door testimony last summer, former FBI lawyer Lisa Page said the Obama administration's Justice Department advised the FBI not to pursue the gross negligence statute for Hillary Clinton in the mishandling of classified information. Former U.S. Attorney and House Republican John Ratcliffe led the line of questioning about the statute known as 18 U.S.C. 793. Ratcliffe, you're making it sound like it was the department that told you you're not going to charge gross negligence because we're the prosecutors. Page interrupted. That is correct. Page's testimony appears to conflict with then FBI Director James Comey's recommendation in July 2016 against criminal charges for Clinton.
What I can assure the American people is that this investigation was done honestly, competently, and independently. No outside influence of any kind was brought to bear.
The Republican-led House Oversight and Judiciary Committee investigation ended in January. With Democrats now in control, the committee's new ranking Republican made the Page transcript public.
The transcript releases show an inherent two-tier system, one in which Hillary Clinton gets the treatment that she got, where they was actually at first concerned that they were going to charge her, and then with Loretta Lynch in charge, before she recused herself, made it very clear that that was not going to happen.
The tip-off came from a chart drawn up by federal investigators assigned to the Clinton case known as mid-year exam. Fox News has confirmed that the chart listed possible federal statutes for prosecution. Next to gross negligence was a notation, quote, DOJ not willing to charge this. Only known cases are military. Cases when accused lost the information. In response to the Page revelations, the president tweeted the transcripts, quote, make the Obama Justice Department look exactly like it was, a broken and corrupt machine. The Page transcript also confirms Fox's earlier reporting. The Page testified Russia collusion was still unproven when Special Counsel Robert Mueller was appointed. Brett?
Captain, thank you.
There you have it, James. I don't know what to say about this. Number one, why are we hearing this now 10 years later? Oh, because they're going to go ahead and prosecute James. Comey and company. I don't have any confidence they're going to prosecute anybody over any of this at all. They have these words they love to use. Never words that trigger criminal activity, but words that really incite the public and nothing more. So, hey, the Clinton or the Obama, it was a corrupt machine. Okay, fine. But, I mean, I want to know when they're going to do the perp walk for Barack. James?
Yeah, Sam, you're 100% right. It is, and matter of fact, when you were playing that clip, I was still trying to figure out, is this an update or is this something from 10 years ago? Because it was the same verbiage, the same sort of presentation and language.
And we've learned nothing new, James. There's nothing new. Are they going to even prosecute? Why are we even hearing this? Why is this even on Fox? Why is this even being talked about? I mean, what's the value of this? There's nothing.
Well, if you're asking the question non-rhetorically, I guess you could only surmise that they're just trying to throw something like this out there to sort of...
Maybe it'll hurt the Dems for midterms because we're on the road.
Well, I mean, and to take some interest away from what's going on up there right now, which is just a total disaster with the Epstein situation. That, I mean, it is just blazing through Washington right now.
Yeah, Donald's got whiplash in his flip-flop, doesn't he?
It's not good. It is, none of it's good, and it's a big distraction, and it's a big thing that just should have never happened. And so, maybe they're throwing this out there, but this isn't going to stick with nearly enough adhesive quality to distract the American public from the Epstein thing. I mean, again, I just heard that whole thing, and I thought it was from 10 years ago, even though it's like a new update.
That's what I mean. What new is there, James?
Nothing, and they're not going to do anything. I mean, Sam, this is the classic Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football thing, and it is coming up on Thanksgiving.
I did not use my hammer to smash hard drives. I did not do it, not any time. Never, James.
Have you was talking about never?
What the heck?
When's the last time you saw? And again, of all these things, I'm being a little facetious here, but Hillary Clinton looking at classified documents from her AOL email address. I mean, that's not exactly what happened, but you know what I'm saying? I mean, as far as the criminal corruption that ran rampant through the Clinton family and their dynasty, this is really not even anything. Even when it was
I sure don't want them to
deal.
talk about me in Arkansas on the airplanes. Don't be talking about that. Don't worry about those 100 people that have relationships to me that were all dead. Don't worry about them Arkansans. I'm just saying. I did not have that hammer. I promise, James. Don't you think I ought to be the first man in the White House? Then I could hang out with all the senators' wives. It'd be fantastic.
You almost got there. If y'all didn't
It's a
blow
clown show, ladies and gentlemen. They're not doing anything about it, and they're not going to. And I don't even frankly know why this is in the news. Okay,
Well,
some
because, again, it's a
Democrat
they're
lawfare
trying to
insider is
distract.
going to blow the whistle and put Hillary in the clink. I thought Donald was going to put Hillary in the clink.
I wanted to get to that. That is the thing. When's the last time you saw, of all the people who have truly been corrupt and who are deserving for massive prison sentences at the least in Washington, who are the only people that have ever gone to jail? You know, Stockman, trafficant. I mean, people who are ostensibly doing good work.
Whistleblowers trying to level with the truth. All right, a three-judge panel. A three-judge panel in Texas, very strange, appointed by, what, 3 different presidents even, I think? We'll talk about it all in seconds. They're in Texas. They're wreaking havoc. How does California fit in? We'll talk about it. This is Liberty Roundtable Live. All right, back with you live. We're talking about this story about Hillary Clinton that's literally over a decade old. But here's the interesting thing. Who's in charge of the DOJ? Isn't it Pam Bondi? Who's in charge of the FBI? Isn't it Kash Patel and Dan Bongino? All right, so here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. They say that Lawfare insider or whatever kind of blew the whistle and said, hey, they say this, it was the DOJ that prevented, this gross negligence thing. So what's Pam going to do now, James? Is Pam going to go ahead and take care of business?
I would not hold my breath. Folks, here's something you should never do on radio.
This is
when
Pam.
You're about to be up, don't
Come
put
on,
a
this
big
is
piece
Pam.
of
She's gonna go ahead and roll. Heads are gonna roll, figuratively speaking, on this. James, come on, that's Pam, right? The Republicans are in charge. Donald's at the helm. Cash is in business. Dan Bongino's, taking care of bit, right?
Yeah, thanks for bailing me out there with an extra 15 seconds. I was going to say.
Yeah,
no,
James doesn't understand. He's not
ice
supposed to
in
eat
your
on
mouth.
TV or the radio.
It's just ice, But anyway, but the
ice is taking
again, it goes
people
back to
out.
what's
James,
going on.
be careful.
It took me out just then. The Trump ran, of course, to release the Epstein files, and now we see how that's going. So after all, this is something my friend Keith Alexander often says, after all is said and done, more will be said than done. And that is perfectly applicable to establishment figures on either side of the so-called aisle putting each other into prison, although I do believe they might have done it with Trump if they could have. I believe some of those Democrats were sincere in that.
Oh, I believe they all protected the Donald, and he wasn't going to prison from the start.
But I do not expect, as much as he ran on releasing the Epstein files, then why has it been such a disaster? Why has he fought it tooth and nail the last 4 months? I mean, presumably to protect his donors and, for other reasons that just don't hold muster with the American public. It's been a big black eye. Been a big distraction for the only year where he really had political currency to get things done. That first year when you're the president, it's really the only year that you can rule with a hammer, and he has done some
and
good
especially
things,
when you're
but
in
now
your second term, so you're lame duck already. Now you're literally double lame duck is the problem. The U.S. 100%. Senate supposedly approved the Epstein file release. They call it the Epstein Transparency Act, 427 to 1 in the House, 100% in the Senate. The legislation now is headed to Donald's desk. He does say that he'll sign it. But here's the problem, James. I don't believe it for a second. They say this follows Trump's reversal. He said it would be basically against him, et cetera, et cetera. I don't even understand what he means it would be about him. He thinks everything is about him, and it's not. But here's the deal. I don't believe they're going to release these files. They've already released thousands and thousands and thousands of pages, and there's no pay dirt. There's no real solid name list. There's no real accountability or actions. You got this Larry clown that was a Harvard leader and everything else going, I'm going to back away from a couple of my duties. I'll still teach classes and hang out and be in the limelight later, but I'm not going to do anything for now because I'm backing off. But no prosecutions, no accountability, no shutting down of a current, perpetrator network of criminal activity, nothing. And I submit to you what they're going to do is they're going to say this is classified, this is redacted, this is that, and the other. You're going to have a big old nothing burgers. All you're going to get out of this, James. It's going to be an overwhelmingly, hey, we released the files to the American people, but by golly, just like Donald told you, there was nothing there, James.
Maybe. This is certainly the best show in town right now, and I hate to be trivial about it because a lot of people were damaged for life as a result of Epstein and everything that was going on there. Now, Trump is literally in the Oval Office, I believe, even maybe. Well, this was yesterday. So now he's going scorched earth on the aforementioned Bill and Hillary Clinton and Larry Summers and people like that. He's calling them out for going to the island. People are saying, well, now, it was all a big trap to get the left baited into caring about these files. Now it's time to really go after them. That is almost certainly wishful thinking. They really never punish each other at that level. And so, no, to go to your question about Bondi, I don't think we're going to see some massive arrest. And that is something that Thomas Massie has already been concerned about, is that there is a provision where if something is under active investigation, the Senate can pretty much just kill it, or redacted so much every page looks like a crossword puzzle. And again, people are thinking, well, now that this has passed the House, we're going to get all the pay dirt, as you call it, Sam. It still has to pass the Senate. That's a whole other thing. If anything comes out at all,
they say it's going to pass the Senate with a voice vote 100%. Nobody's going to be on record, James.
All right, but if whatever, okay, that's fine. Maybe it does. But even if it does,
won't do any good.
It's going to be. They're going to pull out everything that would have been. I just don't think heads are going to roll over this. I don't think there's
the Jeffrey Epstein redacted files is all you're going to get. They'll be so redacted that they'll mean nothing. They'll be so full of, this is classified, can't release that. This needs to be redacted because of this. Just like the Justice Department for Clinton and Obama, basically, hey, shut it down. Donald's going to do the same thing with this. I don't have any trust in Donald at all.
And they would pull out pages, for instance, where if something's under an active investigation, they can pull that until the investigation's over, which, of course, will never happen. So
yeah,
I just don't believe
Hillary's still Bill and Hillary are still under investigation for emails, and so you can't touch them,
well, here's the thing. There you go. But here's the thing, though. What I don't understand, Sam, is this. If they could redact it so much and play all of these games to where even when they release them, they're not really releasing anything, then why was Trump so opposed and fighting tooth and nail?
He needed time, James.
I mean, I guess that makes sense.
Buy a bunch of time, do clown show, do political theater, buy a bunch of time, redact, classify certain things. If you were to get behind the scenes, you'd find out that a bunch of shenanigans went on. Just like this situation where, hey, you got a Democrat lawfare insider basically saying that the Obama team refused to prosecute Hillary. We find that out, 10 years later, supposedly? They say it was the DOJ. So all I'm telling you is that they're just manipulating things. What good, let me ask you this, what good have you heard from Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, and Pam Bondi since they all took office? Have you heard them double down with some solid, we're prosecuting to the full extent of the law, we got them, their hands caught in the cookie jar, they're going down, baby. Well, we're going to perp walk at 6 a.m., and we're not going to have CNN do it, we're going to do Fox, and we're going to perp walk these clowns and put them in prison. Have you seen any of that?
Yes, and I'll give you a perfect example of it, Sam. And it just happened last week, a week or two ago. 100% ironclad example, and I do believe they may mean it. Kash Patel is going after people like Elijah Schaffer. What is he? InfoWars. He's going after alternative media folks who alleged. In some roundabout way, that his current girlfriend, Kash Patel's girlfriend, is some sort of a honeypot for the Mossad. I mean, I don't know what that's all about, but that's
not real. So somebody complains that Kash Patel's girlfriend's this and that. Now Kash Patel's under fire, so he uses the deep state to fire back, and that's all just an inside squabble. But that's not real accountability in prison. That's not.
Of course. I believe he may very well ruin these people. Now these are like Alex Jones tier people that he's going after.
He will ruin
not
these
as
people.
Big as Alex. But I'm just saying, so they can get motivated to go after and ruin the lives of people who cross them, who are sort of right adjacent or whatever. I mean, these are people that would be on our side of the ideological spectrum on most things. And
let's ask this question:
going after
hey,
them.
if this guy thinks that she's a honeypot and he wants to say so, why can't he say so? It could be true or false, but he's got his free speech regardless. He can think that all day long if he wants to.
Well, I know a little bit about defamation law, and it's whatever they say it is, whenever they need it to be, whatever they want it to be. And
That's
I don't
right.
know, but anyway, so that was a tongue-in-cheek answer
any
to your
real
question.
serious
but to your point,
criminals,
no.
any real criminals that have committed crimes that really need to go to prison, none.
No.
Now, the only example you can
you
point
have
to
not
is,
seen it.
hey, one of our own, whether we agree with this person or not, in the conservative media, makes a claim, free speech rights, and now it's like, hey, we're gonna chop your head right off, buddy. You don't get second chance. You don't get. Everybody else just walks free.
You have not seen a high-profile indictment or imprisonment, or well, maybe some indictments, but I mean nothing that's absolutely been 100% substantial, where people have gone to jail in the way that Steve Stockman or Jim Trafficant or people like that, patriots, went to jail. You've not seen anything like that from anybody that was a government insider, anybody that's a high-ranking elected official.
That's right.
You've just not
So
seen
two
that.
classes. This poor guy that made the allegation about Cash's girlfriend just isn't in the right class. Is the problem, James? See?
Well, that's
not in the
absolutely-
protected
yep,
class.
apparently.
That's really the bottom line. And I guess I also wonder with all this kind of stuff, even Ghislaine Maxwell, they say she's in prison, but hey, she met with the government, DOJ, whoever, and they're like, hey, and they have a secret meeting, and then she comes out and says, hey, I'm going to talk to Donald about a pardon, and I'm going to go get moved to this Texas low-level prison, and now we hear she's playing with her little puppy, and she's got special privileged food, and she's got all these privileges in prison, and what's that all about, James?
I don't know for a fact that all of that's true, but I've certainly read that she has attendance, and she's basically living in the most country club-esque life you can in prison. I'm sure.
Well,
she'd
maybe
much
you
rather
should
be
go
out,
visit her.
but-
Can't they accept prisoners? I mean, can't prisoners
Well,
accept visitors? You could go down and pray over her and stuff like that as a pastor. What do you think, James?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could probably.
Ghislaine
you could get on the
James,
guest list.
Christian pastor here, believer in heterosexual marriage, fidelity to one spouse, all this kind of stuff. I want to pray over you. I believe you've been possessed by a demon, and I want to pray over you.
What?
I mean, you look at this and you just go, what is happening? We don't hear any of the other sides of any of these discussions. We have no idea what's true or false or who's getting what special. But we have no idea, people. Zero.
I would
And
like
now
to,
a three-judge
Sam,
panel I want to get to. We'll talk about that, too.
All right.
James?
Sure.
I'm just saying.
Well, we need to get to Texas. I'd like to talk to you for a second, maybe if we could, about who may come out on top of this. The Massey Green faction, or the Trump side, or the left.
Right,
or
we'll
who's
do
gonna
that. Then
win
we'll talk
with
about the Texas
Senate.
judges, because the Texas judges might have a factor in that very point you're making, right?
There you go.
James Edwards, Sam Bushman, you're talking hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use, live on Liberty Roundtable. Poor Jerry. It started out jerry-rigged. Now it's gerrymandered. And it gets even worse. It's racially gerrymandered. I mean, Jerry's just taking a beating, ladies and gentlemen. He ought to sue everyone for libel and slander. And I'm just saying right now, a 3-judge panel ruled that Texas cannot, I repeat, cannot use their, quote, GOP-created redistricting map because it's racially gerrymandered there. Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed that baby into law in August. And they think it'll kind of give them 5 more seats for the Republican Party. And the ruling featured a 2-1 decision. There was a judge appointed by the Donald, one by Obama. Those guys concurred, said it's gerrymandered, got to stop it. A judge appointed by former President Ronald Reagan dissented and said, nah, I don't think it's that way there, people. So 3 judges, 3 presidents, clown show, and Jerry's all at fault, James.
Again, the history of the word gerrymander is interesting. It comes from a Democratic politician damn near the founding of the country in Massachusetts called Elbridge Gerry, and he drew a district for himself that resembled a salamander. That's where you get the word. It's a gerrymander. And, of course, it's interesting. As is always the case, Sam, the double standard and the hypocrisy is so thick you could choke on it. When the Democrats do this, it's, of course, well and good. We talked about it the last time I was on your show. By the way, I'm very, very well informed about what's going on in Texas, and I'm going to share some things with you that perhaps you don't even know. And
yeah, we'll get to that in
audience
just a
won't know.
second. So the interesting thing about this, the judges cited substantial evidence suggesting racial gerrymandering, not just the standard gerrymandering now. This is a racial kind, special gerrymandering, It's kind of like hate speech. It's a special kind of speech, right? They say it requires Texas to use their 2021 map during the 26 midterms. And civil rights organizations are arguing that, hey, that weakens minority influence. Anyway, they say it's against the Constitution, just against everything else. The Texas case may end up proceeding to the Supreme Court, ladies and gentlemen. Now, currently, California passed their Prop 50 thing. And so now the DOJ is suing California. So they can get to the bottom of that there. See, so you get 5 seats picked up in Texas, and you get 5 seats lost in California. And, Jerry in California is kind of like, you pronounce it different than you do in Texas, If you're in Texas, you're like Jerry. If you're in California, you're like, how do you say it? How would you say it in California, James? How would you say Jerry?
However you would pronounce it in a Hispanic accent.
All right. Try it for me. I was hoping James would give you an accent.
Let's see. I mean,
you could do the Texas one easier, couldn't you?
Yeah, Texas. I've got that vernacular down. Texas is a southern state. I speak.
Anyway,
Texas.
I don't want to mock anybody. My point is this: is Jerry illegal? That's really my question. How many illegal voters do we have? Number one, but number two, I say that parties. I don't know if you know, but the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, aren't they private organizations, James?
They are.
So for them to even exist, isn't that gerrymandering right from the get-go? This idea that some group, hold on, this idea that these people can assemble, create a group, their group has special privilege over anybody else, bar none, period, end of paragraph, and now they're debating who has more power of the two.
What's interesting about it, Sam, and I really want to sink my teeth into Texas because I got some information there that some people may not know. But it's funny because, of course, in Texas, the Democrats nationwide are saying, "Oh, how bad this is! It's obviously racial gerrymandering." They did the exact same thing in California, and of course, it's wonderful. The Republicans are all for what happened in Texas, but are suing what happened in California. So it's just a matter of a will to power, and whoever wins is going to make right on this thing. But it's comical. It's
comical, but it's really criminal, though. We laugh at it, but it's criminal. This idea that a private group, why can't I create my own Sam Bushman Incorporated party, and why don't I get a fair, stab at the trough? See, it's absolutely gerrymandered from the get-go. They needed, they called Barack Obama Barry Soetoro. Remember this? So why don't they change it to Berrymandered, James?
Well, you probably could because they've certainly been guilty of it as well. And of all places, right there in Texas, the late Sheila Jackson Lee, who was a black Democratic Congress woman, I guess you would call her. She has a district in Houston that's the most gerrymandered thing I've ever seen. It looks like an octopus. Tentacles go all different directions. There's no logical reason why a district would be drawn that way, if not to make sure that she had enough blacks in there to carry it. And that's why they did it. And they did it all across the South, all across, this whole thing with the Voting Rights Act. They're trying to, at the Supreme Court, they're debating whether or not to gut Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That is because all throughout the South, I'll give you one more example and then toss it back to you, and then I'll tell you the details about exactly what's happening in Texas right now. But in Louisiana, for instance, there's a district there that stretches from the tippy-top northwestern corner of Louisiana in a diagonal line all the way down to the mouth of the Mississippi. It's about as wide as the Panama Canal, and it's just a straight diagonal line, and that's a black district. Now, how in the world, why would you have a district that stretches the entire diagonally the entire length of the state, and it's never more than just a few miles wide? What the hell kind of district is that? I mean, that is an absolute gerrymandering. But when you do it for the left, to carve out districts that are safe for their constituency, it's all well and good, according to them.
Isn't it the same as letting black people into college over white people, even though they don't have as good a scores or anything else, because we're going to have a quota, we're going to have a mandate?
It is pretty much affirmative action at congressional level, and that is what they're seeking to overturn.
Affirmative action at a private
Court.
Party level, not at a congressional level. They're not even congressmen or senators with the gerrymandering. They're regular people, candidates trying to get elected, but private parties have literally shanghaied the system, James.
Be that as it may, and that you're talking about this thing in the widescreen systemic level, but let's just get back, if we can, to the nuts and bolts of what this means going into the midterm.
Here's the point, though, that everybody needs to understand. It won't mean a thing. ladies and gentlemen, except for one group, one private organization will win for a time, and then they'll pass the baton back to the other guys to win for a time as the deep state shares power. That's what it really means, people. Now, we're going to talk about the real, because, I'm teaching to the ideal. That's what it really means, ideally. The fact is, you got to jettison parties or the party's over. But in the meantime, here's what's going to happen in Texas, right, James?
Here's what's going to happen in Texas is, as everyone knows, the White House really put a tough sell on the Texas legislature to redraw these lines so that they could squeeze out 5 more seats. And as these seats go, so too could the control of Congress. It could be as tight as... It could be tight enough to where the seats in California and in Texas decide this whole thing. All right, that's what people are anticipating. That's why there's so much legal maneuvering and fighting on this. So the White House, Trump's White House, put a hard sell on Texas to redraw these lines, which they did, and it carved out what should be 5 new safe Republican seats that do not currently exist or did not exist in 2020.
So that smacks of selection rather than election, but I'm with you.
And again, if it helps us, I'm all for it. If it doesn't, I'm all against it. As I always say, what's
and
good
I'm
for
more
our
of a
people,
rule
it
of
would
law
be
guy,
good
but
for
I'm with you.
Well, I mean, the law is what people say it is. Now, that's always been the law. The law is what lawmakers
say actually
say it
God's
is.
law, and it's what God says it is, and nobody else can dispute that, or they're out in the weeds.
All right, but God didn't say you can't redraw the Texas lines to.
He did say you can't lie and cheat and steal, though.
I mean, would you
so
say
if you gerrymander,
you're
cheating. If you steal, you're stealing votes. You're lying about it, pretending that you have a special privilege at the trough because you made a party earlier than somebody else, and you've held on to power and passed all kinds of restrictions on anybody else competing with you and all these other games, then yeah, okay.
Well, are you saying then that the Republican Party of Texas did something wrong in redrawing these lines?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't even know why we have these lines at all.
Yeah, but I mean that they do exist, and it wasn't. I mean, they are there, and you have districts, and you have representatives that. I mean, of course, fundamentally you have.
So now you got to start talking about
have
precincts and how do we decide precincts at the precinct level and everything else, right?
Well, I mean, you have to have representation at a local level, and from the local level, it goes up from, as you mentioned, precincts to districts to regions, and then you get your House members, and then you get your senators, and then you go up to the president. I mean, there is a chain of command of representation that goes up from neighborhoods all the way up to the nationwide. But nevertheless, I mean, we do have districts. This is what we have. We have members of Congress, and this is. And I'd rather have people that agree with us than don't. I can tell you that. I would rather have people that might. Do something that is in favor of God's law. I mean, I'd rather have, in a hypothetical situation, someone like Steve Stockman in one of these districts than Al Green. I can certainly tell you that. But anyway, but what happened was, to your point, is you had this panel of 3 judges. So Texas redrew the lines, and now you have these 3 judges that say you can't do that. So what does it mean? Where is it going? And what's happening right now on the ground?
It means 3 judges from the 3 presidents decide your elections.
That's true.
And then it depends on who can twist whose arms with what scandal, and maybe they've got honeypots with the judges. I don't know, but behind the scenes, whoever's got the biggest scandal to not be uncovered will rule the day, right? All right, precincts are the basic building blocks of elections, ladies and gentlemen. At least they used to be till we got mail-in vote fraud and everything else under the sun. They used to be state and locally controlled and manipulated, and et cetera, by all kinds of ways. Sometimes neighborhoods, sometimes county lines, city lines, mountains, all kinds of things. And there's laws governing it in every state. There's no national standard. So precincts are the basic building blocks of elections. They're created by state laws, and they're drawn by local election officials. Yeah, they say that way everybody gets the right ballot and everything else. But what you got is Republicans and Democrats that have an absolute private control lockdown on this. And just depends on who can punch harder before 26, James.
You know what's funny about it, Sam, on the precinct level? And again, folks, what we're doing right now is talking about this situation in Texas. We're looking at it as an ideal versus the real deal. Ideally is how things should be. The real deal is what it is. And but, Sam, on a precinct level in Tennessee, for instance, and in other states I've seen, the precincts are uniform small square blocks. You know, that makes sense to me. I mean,
That's right.
they are
now
squares.
You're talking. And those
they
blocks
go,
don't
they,
know party, James.
They are blocks. They are uniform. They are the exact same size, and they stretch the state. And then, when you get up to a congressional level, you have like ink splatter for districts. You have these crazy designs, and of course we know
you
why.
have parties that have basically claimed their territory above everybody else.
Look at the precinct level of a state like, I want to say like Oklahoma. It is perfect tiny squares all across the state, and that's your precinct level. So anyway, Iowa I think is another one that's exactly like that. And maybe a lot of them are, but I have seen something like that. But then once you get to a federal level, once you get to Congress, these districts become just whatever they need to be, drawn however they need to be, with no sense of. There's no rational reason for these districts to be so weird and like stretch hundreds of miles in a small line instead of a square of the state or anything like that on just a wider scale. I mean, obviously they did this to rig elections. But anyway,
isn't it racist to even draw lines based on how many black or white people are in a given area, for that matter?
Well, it is if it benefits a white Republican. It is not if it benefits a black Democrat.
Oh,
and that is exactly that is 100% a fact, because these districts. I mean, they admit as a result of the so-called Voting Rights Act that they gerrymandered these districts to ensure that blacks would have seats at the table, that they would have seats in Congress, and they did it absolutely specifically and with the stated purpose of that very reason. But it's okay because why? Because you feel like you owe somebody something because of the color of their skin or whatever. It's okay when they do it. But again, that may be overturned now at the Supreme Court. If it does, that's going to put over a dozen seats in the South in play, because you're going to get rid of some of these districts, like I mentioned in Louisiana. But let's talk about Texas. So
yeah,
they drew these lines. You're going to have 5 more Republican seats, but now this 3-judge panel, a Trump appointee, a Reagan appointee, and a Obama appointee, said, no, you can't do it. You got to go back to the other maps. And so that would put Al Green back in there and all these Republicans.
Gerrymander version D is no good. Go back to C.
That's pretty much it. Now, here is the situation, though. Because Trump and the White House pressured Texas so much to do this, you have to imagine, Sam, that they planned for this scenario. And I believe certainly if you have a Trump appointee and a Reagan appointee on a 3-panel appellate judge decision, that they probably wish they could have just won at that level and it had been over with, because as of right now there's a fly in the ointment. However, this was from USA Today last night when this story broke, and this is the $1 million quote, I think, for people watching this. And I would just say that it's not over yet. So here's the paragraph. Republican Governor Greg Abbott, a key proponent of the electoral changes, said he would appeal the ruling to the United States Supreme Court. U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi followed up, posting on social media, quote, "We strongly disagree with today's district court ruling on Texas's redistricting map. Texas's map was drawn the right way for the right reasons, and we look forward to Texas's victory at the Supreme Court." So this is not over yet, and now the Supreme Court
I have a problem with this
whole
thing. These elections are state and precinct issues, James. They're not federal government Supreme Court discussions.
Well, they would say that is not the case if you rise up to the level of Congress. That's what they would say. And nevertheless, the Supreme Court, well, here's the thing. There's precedent on this. Now, listen to this. Our aforementioned dear and good friend Steve Stockman, 12 years ago when he last won his a seat in Congress, the second of 2 terms that he was elected to serve, this exact same scenario happened. There was a dispute, a legal dispute about the redrawing of the lines 12 years ago. This exact thing played out where it looked like it was going to be blunted. It went to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court upheld the new lines, and Steve Stockman was able to run and eventually win that. So what happened, though, in that year was the state of Texas delayed the primary until the Supreme Court could deal with it. So as it stands right now, in this, well, I mean, hey, didn't you say the states have the right to do what they want to do with their elections? I mean, they decided to postpone the primary while this thing was held up in the court.
Well, who decided that, James? Hold on, the American people or the parties? See, these private groups that have so much power decided that.
Well, somebody in charge.
Well, who holds primaries, James? You have a Republican and a Democrat primary. In fact, if you're from a third party, you don't really even have a primary unless you luckily get some people
just on the ballot.
Square off. You're not even in that part of the election. You're gerrymandered right on out of it while the Republicans and Democrats decide who has more power that day.
Okay, that's fine. But, I mean, it's hard to differentiate in some ways the parties and the state because everybody that's a part of state government is a member of a party. I mean, I see what you're saying and where you're going with that.
And the reason they are is because you have to be a member of a party to even get elected.
In the United States, that is true, and it's not a good thing. But, again, we're talking about the real deal versus the ideal here.
Yeah, that's right.
And
anyway, I just want people to understand how – the reason I keep hammering on this is I want people to understand right from the get-go, from the root, this thing has been ripe with fraud from the beginning. And it needs to stop, and the only way to stop it is to get rid of these parties. The only way to stop it is to, let these people quit playing games. Why is the Supreme Court involved in every precinct's election in the first place? That was never the intent of the founders, is the point.
All that is well and good, and I'm not saying I even disagree with you on that. But in the practical and in the real deal, if I had to choose, if you say, James, what would you rather happen? Would you rather, 5 Republicans who may do something you like get in there, or would you rather it be maintain the status quo? You got 5 radical leftist Democrats in there that are going to give you nothing. I would say, well, if I had to choose between these two things, probably I'd rather these lines.
If I only have A and B, that's right. I agree 100%. But what if I have C and I say the party's over and we're going to let Americans in squares or in appropriate, whatever doesn't favor one over, and we create appropriate precinct guidelines and get the federal government out of your elections and have paper ballots and do all these things at the lowest, most close level to the people possible, not based on race or opinion or party or any other special interest, pull the lever of government in your favor idea. Okay, then, but I choose that, James.
Hey, listen, if your option C was on the table, I pushed that button 100% of the time, 100 times, 100% of the time. But, again, of course, right now it's not. So,
what's going to happen?
If it was,
is the Supreme Court going to come back and say the Reagan judge is right?
All right, so the Reagan judge here's what I know, and I know we're running out of time, and I got to squeeze this in. I know the Reagan judge is writing a dissenting opinion. Ken Paxton, the Attorney General of the state of Texas, is already filing an appeal. The Supreme Court could choose not to take this up, but in the past, there is a precedent in Texas on this very issue. 12 years ago, they took it up, and they affirmed the Texas Republican Party side of it. We don't know if that'll happen again, but there is precedent there, and I would be surprised, Sam, if the Supreme Court, and they have already hinted that they are going to take on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, which would obliterate some of these gerrymandered black districts. I find it hard to believe that they would have the stones to take that on, but not take up the situation in Texas. So I think it's probably all going to be taken up together. That's just what I'm guessing. And if and right now, candidates are filing to run for these seats, okay? And they can still file while this thing is in limbo.
Based on the new map, right?
Based on the new map, yes. They are still filing and can continue to do so even while this thing is in limbo, even though right now the judges said, we got to go back to the old map. They know it's going to be appealed, and that's still moving forward under the expectations that the new map will be accepted on appeal. And so we will, wait and see that. They may postpone the primary, but
the Republicans are likely to win when it comes to Texas. It's not over yet. But what about California, James? Because if we're going to challenge Texas and we're going to say then they're going to challenge California, we're going to have the same discussion. This is what might make it to the Supreme Court, right?
Well, this is a problem.
Usually when you have states conflict, that's when the Supreme Court has to kind of mediate that thing, right?
Well,
come down with a decision.
I think California could be a problem, though, on this. It's because, how can you say one's good and one's bad, or both are bad? They're either both good or they're both bad. So the Supreme Court would have to rule in favor of Texas and rule in favor of California, which they might.
That's the point. If they do, then what happens? Hey, you got this 5 seats gained one spot, 5 seats lost another spot. I come back and say, what about all the illegals voting? And how can we redraw these maps if we don't know how many illegals will be in a given district? Just wondering.
We got to get We got to get that taken care of on the next census. We got to, or even before then, we got to make sure these illegals are taken off. And that would totally change the balance of power in Congress if you're interested in that, folks.
Heard that. We'll talk about it in seconds. I'm Sam Bushman. James Edwards is with me. ThePoliticalCesspool.org. Check out his award-winning website and more. I'm Sam Bushman, syndicated by Loving Liberty. LovingLiberty.net. Spread the word, share the love. And God save the Republic of the United States of America.